Hi, Ragnar. Good morning. Hi, Deborah. First on. Hello there, Tom. Maybe that's more
Good
people.
morning.
Good morning.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Deborah. I know you
Hi.
went to the Chamber of Commerce this morning.
Yes, I did.
Well, good for you.
I tried. I tried to hold up to my end of the bargain.
Well, I didn't know you were going, but I heard from Deborah Meyer this morning, and she told me she was very happy to meet you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she said she's only seen you on the Zoom calls, so meeting you in person was an extra treat and that you're very nice.
Thank her. Thank you. We met at the breakfast though, and
Sure, but maybe it was, a busy morning then. So,
okay.
yeah. Okay. Get some more people in. Good morning, Scott. Good morning,
Good
Maria.
morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, Sigalim.
Morning.
I think you're almost official here with us.
I think so.
Yeah. Thank you for providing
Almost
the
there.
information. Yeah. Sigalim, if you live in the Chino Hills area, you can also attend the Chamber of Commerce meeting
Okay.
as a
When
way.
is it?
Well, it's early in the morning, 7:45 Wednesday morning. And I see Deborah smiling with her big smile.
Hi, Deborah.
Hey, sister girlfriend.
How's it going?
Excellent.
That's good. Good to know.
Good morning, Brian. You've got
Good
your
morning. Good morning.
logo in the back there, huh?
Yeah, this is our new logo. So, showing it off proudly.
Yes. Okay, well, let's begin. Let me turn this off. Let's see. Okay, let me just make sure. Okay, well, let's take a look at our agenda for today. Okay, so let me get to share it here. Okay, so welcome to Zoom. We'll have a Chamber of Commerce report from Deborah Little, who attended early this morning, 7:45. Good job, Deborah. And then we do have a short video from Keeping Current Matters in regards to the increasing inventory and what that means for home buyers, but also how that affects all of us and how we can maneuver through this time in our marketplace. And Brian and Maria from Movement Mortgage will be talking about what to expect in the fall season. And as I wrote in my email earlier, I can't believe the fall season starts tomorrow. I looked it up. It said September 22nd. So there we go. It's just like the last quarter of almost close to the last quarter of the year, 2022. And then Debbie DeGroat did a really wonderful advanced training last week. And I just took a snippet of what she presented to share with all of us, because it's good information for us to keep in our arsenal and to remind us. But she quotes from Alan Dalton, who is the Senior Vice President of Marketing and Research for BHHS, and he'll be presenting tomorrow. Then we have our housekeeping. Okay, and then hopefully at the end of the meeting, I'll remember to talk about this, about commitment. All right, so Deborah, share with us what's going on with the Chamber of Commerce.
Well, being that it's the end of the year, they have a lot of things going on. A lot of things. They're having a lobster fest October 9th. They're having a youth entrepreneurship November 5th. Of course, we're participating in the Business Expo October 22nd. And it was very informative. They had a guest speaker from Merrill Lynch talking about the economy, and he gave a overview of from early 1900s to the present. Telling you where you put your money, where to sit tight if you have money in stock, and maybe buy bonds. His name is Christopher, but I can't remember his last name. It was well attended. The table was full pretty much, and people sitting on the sideline, like Debbie and Brandon said, they make you introduce yourself. So we did that, even the Zoom people introduced themselves. It was a lot of different kind of entrepreneurs there, from pet doggy businesses to financial planner. We met another realtor and we booed him. No, but it was different and fun and exciting, and I look forward to going back.
Okay, well, thank you for representing for us, Deborah. And just
My
to let you
pleasure.
know, I did contact Zeb Welburn, who's the president of the Chamber of Commerce yesterday, to see if we can get the same booth space that we've had in the past. And he said that most likely we can or close by it, and they have not sold out on the availability. So I believe we're going to try to see if we can still get the early bird registration because we just joined. So we'll work on that. And
Yes, the early bird deadline is September 30th.
Okay.
Josie said she gave us our cost is $120.
Okay, that's not bad, you know, and this is an opportunity to market yourself out there in the booth. And it is fun. We've done it in the past and we'll take shifts. Do you remember what time it is, from what time to what time?
She said the setup is start at 7 a.m. and it's from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's Josie. And then Sandy, she remembered you, Scott, and she was glad we were back. And she mentioned another guy. She thought of another person that used to come, but I couldn't remember who that
Maybe it
was.
was Bob Masucci.
Oh, okay. Because I thought it was maybe Lee, but she said no.
Probably no.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes, Lee went and he took a selfie with the whole chamber.
Right. But she said it wasn't Lee because I asked, was he black?
Okay, then we know it's not Lee. She said no. Okay. Yeah, okay. Well, thank you for representing. And again, I'm surprised that Brandon went there because I know he had an event out in Dana Point today.
No, he wasn't there.
Oh, he wasn't there. Yes.
He wasn't there.
Yes. So, okay. And Ellen did contact me this morning. She had to go to a funeral in LA at 11 a.m. Evelyn Chu is in China, Taiwan now. So she told me she would still join our Zoom meetings, but I don't know what time it is over there. So I'm not really expecting that. So let's take a look at Kate from Keeping Current Matters. And as you know, it's so important for us to be updated on what's going on in the marketplace, because we are the ones that are the professionals that people rely on to know what's happening. And unfortunately, sometimes we listen to the news and the news can skew it because they like to report bad news. Bad news is what sells. But, you know, as professionals, we can't be succumb to bad news because we have to find a way through it all and to help our clients to, you know, achieve their goals. Because if we're the ones who are down and out, then we're not going to be lending any help to the people. Yes, of course, we need to be aware, but then we also need to strategize in ways that we can help our clients. So let's take a look at this video with Kate Rezelbeck, I believe is her name. And let's let me take off this thing on the bottom. Okay. All righty.
Lots of great stuff happening here today. We're actually going to be talking about inventory today. So big question on everybody's mind, what's happening with inventory? We're seeing inventory continue to rise this year. And, you know, a lot of that has to do with buyer demand and active listings. We're going to break all of this down for you today. And I think you're really going to like what we have to talk about. So really creating more opportunities for buyers in the housing market right now. And so we're excited to bring you the latest inventory update. Lots of graphs, lots of charts, lots of visuals to help you be the market expert, to be that trusted advisor in your market. Because more than ever, your clients have questions right now. And our research team is vetting through all the data, all the insights, and helping you make sense of what's really happening in this shifting market. So as we bring you these slides today, we certainly want you to download those, share those with your clients, put them out on social. There's so much goodness happening here today. And like I said, we're going to be talking about inventory and how that's creating opportunities for buyers. And I want you to hang on to the finish line, because as we get to the end of the deep dive, I'm going to give you a little insight into what we're going to be talking about next week as well. So we're going to start to weave these together for you and really give you a great opportunity to truly be that market expert. So we're going to go ahead and get started in just a moment. I'm going to share my screen for you so you can see what we're going to be talking about. As I mentioned, inventory is the topic today. And I want to start with this quote from Michael Lane from Showing Time. It says, "Conditions for buyers are less competitive than they were last year at this time. Well, a general increase in available inventory in most markets has not only given buyers more options to consider, but more time to consider them." So that's huge. More options, more time. If you have buyers who have potentially been, sitting on the sidelines or stepped out of the process because they couldn't find a home or it was really competitive, now may be a great time to jump back in with more options available, more time to consider them, not feeling so rushed. This is a very different market than what we were talking about even just a few months ago. The frenzy of the pandemic is truly behind us, and finding a home may not be the biggest challenge anymore for buyers who are eager to get into home ownership. So conditions for buyers less competitive. And I want to break that down for you between buyer traffic and today's inventory. So let's go ahead and look at this next graph. This shows that showings are now below last year's level. So this is the Showing Time monthly showing index. And what this is a measure of how many people are going out and looking at homes right now. So Showing Time puts together a monthly index. And what we're showing you here in this index is that the orange bars over the past few months, April, May, June, July, we're seeing that buyer demand start to soften, start to cool a little bit. So below where we were from last year's levels. Now, why is that? We've talked a lot about rising mortgage rates have really softened what's happening with buyer demand, a little bit of a cooling on buyer demand. And so we're seeing fewer buyers in the market right now. Now, we know that context is important, right? So not as many buyers as the past year, but let's talk about what happened compared to pre-pandemic numbers. So same Showing Time index, if we look at July over the last 6 years, and July is the latest data we have here, if you look at the Showing Time index for July of 2022, that's the green bar. Certainly a drop off from 2020 and 2021 compared to how many buyers were actively in the market, but we're still ahead of those pre-pandemic years. And remember, those were great years in real estate. So showings above pre-pandemic numbers. So has buyer demand softened a bit? Yes. Is the frenzy behind us? Most likely. But buyers haven't completely disappeared. They're still eager to find a home. And while we're continuing to watch this going forward, we are seeing a slight softening in buyer activity. So this Showing Time quote helps to describe this. It says the year-over-year dip in buyer activity follows a general market rebalancing that's taking place across the country as available inventory increases while fewer buyers actively shop for homes. So what does that mean? Well, if there are fewer buyers in the market, that's softening buyer demand, that's softening home sales, and that creates more inventory. So not as many buyers means inventory is actually growing. So more options for the buyers who are staying in the market. And what I want to show you next is data from Realtor.com. This is the latest active inventory, and it shows that it's increasing dramatically since the beginning of this year. So active monthly listings in thousands, you can see how it's really ticked up May, June, July, August, at the same time that buyer demand was softening. So fewer buyers, more inventory. This is creating a very different dynamic in our housing markets. And, we can see how this active inventory is rising. And the interesting thing is that inventory overall is not just coming from new listings. You may think, more inventory means more people are listing their homes. Well, let's break down active versus new listings for a moment. So we actually have more active listings than new listings. That's the trend in the market right now. So the green bars are new listings coming to the market. You can see June, July, August, that number has kind of tailed off a little bit. So not as many new listings coming to the market, but active listings, the blue bar, is increasing. What this means is that homes are staying on the market a little bit longer. Buyers have more time. They have more options, just like we saw in that quote in the beginning. Active listings are growing, creating more options for buyers. Now, let's take a look at this from a map view, because I think this is always a great visual to be able to see. This is year-over-year change in inventory point. This is what we're calling an inflection point in the market, with buyer demand down and inventory rising. And we want to make sure that you are the trusted expert, the person who can actively explain this to your clients, make sure they understand it. We want to give you everything you need to be the trusted advisor in that conversation, to be the expert in your market. So you don't want to miss that one. That's 11 a.m.
Okay, she gave us a lot of information, but I was very fascinated by the listings that are staying on the market. And so anyone have any thoughts about that? Because she says the active listings are less, but there are more listings on the market, like 779,000 in the month of August. Any thoughts? Because I'll give some thoughts, but I'd rather hear from you. If you're out there in the marketplace and observing, because that's part of our job, is to observe what's going on.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's, it's just like a comparison of, supply and demand. The demand has kind of gone down, and so the supply has gone up. And I think that's just going to contribute to more of what we're going to see in the rest of this year and into next year.
Thank you, Brian. Betty Jo, you turned on your video. Did you want to say something? Go ahead and unmute yourself. No, you don't want to say anything?
My microphone.
Okay. Well, from my observation is that I'm hearing that a lot of transactions are falling out of escrow. And the reason why is because buyers are not as motivated as they were at the beginning of this year, that they will take whatever is out there. Now buyers are starting to see they have, like what she said at the beginning, there's more time and more options. And so unfortunately, if you have a listing and it falls out of escrow, I think it's important to address it at the beginning, with the counter offers, because they're taking the advantage of the buyer contingency, and then canceling at the last minute. So I'm hearing that those pending sales are going back on the market. So that's why we're seeing that listing inventory increase. So what I would suggest, if you are taking a listing, is to really prepare your home as the best possible that you can, which means declutter it, take great, stage it if you can, take great photos, because that's where people shop. And when they first come on, that's how you can get as many buyers to make an offer at the beginning of your listing, rather than, falling out and falling out and falling out. Then your days on market start counting, and then people may begin to lower that price because they know that there are more options in the marketplace. So Brian and Maria, share with us what's going on and what to expect in the fall.
Yeah, of course. So what to expect in the fall housing market? I think there's been a lot of news coverage about the rates and what's going on with the Federal Reserve and how they're trying to, impact or slow down inflation. So, the reality is, the rates are higher than they've been since, 2008. So right now, today's conventional rate is at 6.25. FHA and VA are at 6.125. So the housing market has shifted dramatically over the past few months, and we've all been seeing it. It has forced many sellers back to the negotiating table. So what we were seeing last year was that, like how the video mentioned, that there was just so much demand for housing that, houses were flying off the shelves, so to speak, and, buyers really were just taking whatever they can get. Now, it's not like that anymore, which I think is probably the best way to be, where there's a give and take on both sides. So, the housing market is going to continue to be an adjustment, especially throughout the rest of this year. We anticipate buyers will have more opportunities and less competition this fall. So how is that going to, help us? Because what it's going to do is, since the rates are a lot higher than how they've been, it's going to take a really strong qualified buyer to, move forward, put an offer on something. So they are going to have a little bit more leverage where they can negotiate, some repairs and negotiate some seller credit. And that's something that we've been asking for in our brands with some of our clients, is that, telling our realtor partners, don't be afraid to ask for lender credit. I'm sorry, seller credit. So that way the seller can help out with doing a buy down to get the rate lower for the buyer. So the end goal is for everyone to be happy, and both sides, seller and buyer, be happy. And we're seeing that sellers are willing to contribute some credit towards the buyer's rate, so that way the deal can close and everyone can move forward on with the transaction. So that's definitely something to keep in mind when you're writing an offer for your buyers, that you may be able to negotiate a lower price, you may be able to negotiate some seller credit. So that's just something to keep in mind.
And Brian, before you go on, I was just going to say, as a listing agent, we need to instruct our sellers about the change of market, because
Right.
they're still thinking that they can sell everything as is. And then we get into trouble later when these buyers are requesting all kinds of repairs. So I just want to prepare our mindset so that we can prepare our clients' mindset. And I know between August and now, people still thought it's still kind of a seller's market, but buyers have more options. So we just have to pay very close attention to what's going on. So, if you have a buyer, this is a great time to get them in the market, because now they have options and time to consider. Okay, sorry for that, but I just wanted to.
No, of course. No, I totally agree with you. So there will be more homes for sale as properties will sit on the market longer. That's kind of what we've been talking about. And, we will be able to have, negotiations on the price. And then so brings me back to my first point, is that rates are likely to keep rising as the U.S. Federal Reserve continues to fight inflation. It's no secret there. The inflation has just been out of control this entire year. So every quarter, it seems like the Federal Reserve is going to increases the rate to kind of slow down inflation, which helps out. But last month we saw that it didn't really help out as much as they thought. So everyone's expecting this federal rate hike to be between 75 basis points and 100 basis points. And that's more so like having to do with mortgage-backed securities and how that works out. To us, how that equates to us is that it just means higher rates. We could see rates somewhere 6.5%, 7% range by the end of this year, and maybe even higher next year. It's all speculation right now, but that's kind of what everyone's anticipating. And then will home prices go down? That's a big topic that everyone's kind of been wondering and asking. And will there be another housing crash? And based on all the information that I've been reading and all the data that I've been looking at, it's not likely that there's going to be another crash. Prices may decline a little bit more than they would seasonally. As we all know, as the season changes, the demand changes, and so the price fluctuates based on the demand. So what we're anticipating is that the decline in home prices will show up as the year goes on, and it won't be a dramatic decrease. Because if you think about it, from last year and the year before, the home prices were just going up and up and up and up and up every month. And, it was hard to keep up with that. Now it's kind of slowed down, and we think that it's going to flat out where, the home values aren't going to be increasing like that month over month, over year, maybe, but month over month, not as much as it was. So we do expect prices to flatten out. So that's something that you may want to talk to your seller, to your buyer, that the prices may flatten out. We may be able to negotiate a lower price. You want to let your sellers know to be flexible with the strategy that you would want to do to sell a house, because those are all going to be contributing factors to how you're going to, find the right buyer and also, market the home for the right sales price. And then Maria, I don't know if you had anything else you wanted to add. So that's pretty much what I had for me.
Yeah, I think Brian really hit the nail on the head with just about everything that he mentioned. And I think it's important that, we remember that there are still eager buyers out there. It's just a little different. Our approach is a little different. I really keep thinking that we need to go back to old school. How we used to do things, and even, our partners, the way they're listing the houses, like Leilani is saying, it's a completely different approach that we're coming out of a market right now where it was the seller's market. I mean, they were just getting exactly what they wanted. But now the buyers have an opportunity to perhaps ask for some seller credit. And because the rates are going up, I think it's important that we try to get that seller credit so that we could buy down the rate so that it's not such a shock to the buyer. So I know when I'm getting phone calls, I'm hearing from them and they're saying there's no way we can afford to purchase a house. And, so the first thing I try to do is just calm them down and say, there's always a way we can, we have creative financing. There's different ways we could do it. Perhaps your seller can help you. And that's where our partners come in and are able to, talk to them. And I always refer them back to the partners. The other thing I think that's important in this market are open houses. And that's where I think that we really need to kind of step back to our, old school habits of having the open houses and having them, twice a weekend, and continuously having them, because that's how we're going to draw people in, and try to somehow lower the fear that they have. Other than that, that's pretty much all I had.
Yes, I just want to dovetail again with what you guys were saying is, I read or heard that we only had a 1.4 increase year over year in appreciation from last August to this August. So, but before that, we were just having astronomical increases. So it's hard to change. We always say that no one likes change except a wet baby. So, what we need to do is start to school our clients, especially the sellers, that it is changing. But actually, it's changing to be a normal market, because it was a crazy market when you get 20 offers over 100,000 over the list price. That was an abnormal market. Right now, we're just coming back to a normal market, but our clients, our sellers have expectations that it's still that abnormal market. So I guess maybe what we can share with our clients is, it's normalizing, which is a good thing. And so even though they said 17 days was the normal amount of time, days on market, now it's 30 days, but they say a normal market is between 3 months to 6 months. So we're still within that seller's market, but we've got to negotiate for our clients. And we have to tell our sellers, we need to be able to compromise, because at the end of the day, what you want is a deal to close. So, they can, if they are holding out for the big thing, they're not going to get it, and then they're not going to meet their goal. And so we want to meet win-win for everyone around. But that means we've got to increase our negotiating skills. And so with that, I'd like to share with you Debbie DeGroat's video from last week, because we're always talking about, let's get back to the basics, the fundamentals. At the beginning of her presentation, she talked about Vince Lombardi, the famous football coach. And whenever he met with his new team, he brought out his football and said, guys, this is a football. And then we're all thinking, duh, they should all know it, because if they're in the, pro football, these guys know what a football is. But it's just emphasizing the point that we've got to get back to the basics of our industry. One of the basics is prospecting. With the market before, the leads came fast. If you had buyers, now it's different. We've got to go out there. That's why I'm really glad that Deborah went to the networking. It is about open houses and going out and networking, talking to more people, and being the market expert, because people are in the dark and they're not sure, or they are hearing one kind of news, but we are the ones that are the professionals. This is our job, so we've got to know. So here is Debbie DeGroat. Let me get her on screen here. I'll have to do this. Hold on.
What counts as a contact? Emails and texting are good and fine, but that doesn't count. A contact is a conversation with a decision-making adult, eye to eye or ear to ear. They don't have to say yes. You just have to talk to them about real estate. Make it easy on yourself, talking about a fundamental. Wear your branded polo or your name tag when you're out and about in the community. It's amazing with the market shifting, how many people have questions, and they're going to want to talk to you. And I love Alan Dalton's opportunistic market script, where he says, when they say, how's the market? Say, thank you for asking. It's actually a very opportunistic market. There are strong opportunities for buyers and still amazing opportunities for sellers. What opportunity did you have a question about? So we want to open that conversation. And even if they're not ready to buy or sell, we can bring them back. We can put them in your CRM, set up your nurture campaign, and stay top of mind. Okay.
Debbie, to your point, first off, thank you for the promotion, because Alan Dalton is our speaker next Thursday, 9 a.m. to 11.
Awesome. We'll have to tell him I said hello.
Through your company and work when he was working with you. And Alan is a superstar across the United States, as you know, because he worked with your company as well after kind of making some positions. And because of you, that's where Chino and Alan reconnected. So it's interesting. Things come around by staying connected, which is my point.
By staying connected. And Alan has another thing that he says that I love, and I think it's a good thing to focus on in the new year. Expand your range, your reach, and your influence in your community. So you can do that in a lot of different ways. You can do that by, wearing your polo when you're out and about and meeting people. You can do that by finding things you're passionate about, getting involved in those groups, because again, where there are people, there are leads. You can take it on a new geographic farm and expand your reach that way. But if you would say, all right, if I'm going to be a little pessimistic about the year ahead, what if I look at my worst month in 2022 and say, if I don't make some changes, that might be my best month in 2023. And am I okay with that? No, I am not okay with that. So then take action, right? Because if we think about fundamentals, things like people always say, oh gosh, I don't have a good listing presentation. There's no excuse for that. That would be like Tom Brady going out into the field saying, I don't know what the play is, right? And you've got amazing resources in Berkshire Hathaway, in the company. So make a commitment. I'm going to work with my leadership team. I'm going to have somebody help me, and I'm going to perfect my listing presentation. Make sure you're working closely with the company affiliates, because they can help you counsel your buyers and figure out that, wow, there are ways to get them into homes. There are ways to help them understand the real cost of home ownership. Also, we're going to have to be good negotiators, right? We're going to have to learn to negotiate again. because we've been used to, you just throw your offer in and maybe you'll get it because there's 25 others, or you're the listing agent and it's really easy to get that property sold in 2 or 3 days. Average days on market right now is 30 in much of the country. No big deal, right? That is still a seller's market. So what is our problems with our sellers? They're too greedy, right? So they can still get a great price. They can still sell in 30 days, but they want this price up here. And you're going to have to become skillful in how you explain and discuss pricing. And you'll have to remind Alan next week to revisit with you the 3 pricing strategies. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, our company has made a science out of pricing property. We can price below the data for a quick sale. We can price at the data for a reasonable sale and a good appraisal, or we can push the ceiling. I call it retail pricing. Push that envelope, knowing if the market does not respond, we may have to make an adjustment. So tell me, which strategy do you prefer? See, that is pure Alan Dalton, and I think brilliant, because it engages that homeowner. If you go in and preach at them, they won't like you. If you go in and you're too negative, they won't hire you. And by the way, who knows exactly what the perfect price is, right? So you're definitely going to need to take as many listings as you can, because the inventory is going to continue to be low, which means you're going to have to take some probably too high. So get back to the foundation of taking a longer listing, at least 6 months. Get back to the foundation of having those weekly conversations with your sellers, because if you don't, they will cancel. So we're seeing a whole little rash of this new phenomenon of listings canceling 30 to 45 days in. And that's because sellers were probably too greedy and they're disappointed, but most likely because the agent's not proactively having conversations and probably did not set the right expectation. So number 1 reason agents lose listings right now, it's over how they're handling that pricing conversation. So be masterful in that. Once that listing is signed and back in your hand, now you can have the heart-to-heart, setting those expectations. What I would say to a seller right now is, you know, Elaine, I know you're not in a hurry. You don't have to sell fast. That's fine. The reality, though, is buyers still think that homes should be selling in a few days. So they watch those days on market. And if they start to stack up, they're going to think something's wrong with the property, or that you will take a much lower offer. So it's still best for you if we can sell inside of 30 days. That means if we're not sold at 2 weeks, we should have a heart-to-heart and plan our strategy, and we should adjust the price no later than 21 days in. So that, though, happens, guys, after you take the listing, after they've hired you, right? Because then they're also much more likely to listen. So then if we think about other fundamentals, expireds and cancels, we'll have more of them, work them. For sale by owners, there's not that many out there, but they won't be as easily able to sell. Geographic farming, still a great way for many of you to build your business. And let's don't forget open house. Hold as many as you can. Many of our forward clients are holding Saturday, Sunday. They're extending the hours so that they have more opportunity before that property sells. And they're even often holding Tuesday afternoon and Thursday afternoon. Because you can have your laptop, got your earbuds, you can be there working like your mobile office. And if even only 1 or 2 good prospects come in, that's 1 or 2 good prospects you didn't have. So then I wrote down, call every past client and great sphere of influence before the end of the year. And if you're thinking, but I feel bad. I haven't talked to them for years. Remember, they're busy. They're not thinking about it. They haven't counted the days since your last conversation. But the shifting market gives you a perfect excuse to reconnect. You know, there's a lot happening. There's a lot of questions and concerns about the market. And I really thought you might like to ask me some questions. What would you like to know? What are your real estate related plans for the next 6 to 18 months? Do you have any family members, any friends that have questions for me? Don't need to push them, right, guys? You don't need to be overly salesy. You are their wise advisor. Contact them and give them the updates and the information they need. So take a look this week at all of the key areas of your business and do a really honest self-skill evaluation. You could add new things, but first, it would make a lot of sense if you would go back and say, where am I already getting business? Probably a lot of it from people you know. So what can I do to improve that process? Well, and I'm getting a lot of business from open house. Then what can I do to expand or improve that process? Might be as simple as adding a longer schedule to the open house, inviting 50 neighbors to the open house, putting up more signs around the open house. See, real estate is probably one of the harder businesses that there is, but it's not technically that difficult, right? So in other words, you have to have the guts and the courage to get up every day, to bring your A game, to do the things you need to do. That's hard, right? You know, we all could have chosen the path of a quote real job where you show up, you could be half awake, you do what you do, you get a paycheck, you go home, you forget about it. But you know what? You didn't choose that, right? And I always think about, you know, the Steve Jobs quote, here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the square peg that will not fit in the round hole. That is you. So you chose the life that you wake up every morning and say, showtime. That's the hard part. Executing the fundamentals, not that difficult, right? And I remember once saying to my broker, I don't know, must have had a bad month, crazy people, something. And I said, you know, I just don't know if I love this job anymore. Like, I don't feel into it. It's just kind of a grind. I don't know. He started laughing at me and he said, you do know that's why it's called work, right? And it actually really helped me because I think I felt if I wasn't like fired up, I love it, love it, love it, that I lost my mojo or that I'm in the wrong business. And he said, no. He goes, you know, airline pilots, it's 98% sheer boredom, 2% sheer terror. He goes, Debbie, anything you master, anything that is a job will have its good days and its bad days. But he said, here's what you do. You get up, you show up, put your game face on, and you run the plays. You do the fundamentals, and the fundamentals will get you paid. So I would encourage you, take time now to look at your 3 to 5 pillars of business. Take time now to reset your schedule and get your business plan done before Thanksgiving, because then you can use the rest of the year as a dress rehearsal to practice, to say, okay, I really want to do 10 conversations a day. So I'm going to start now because I might fall off the wagon, but by the new year, I can have that habit built, right? So this is the time. So I hope you guys will join some of our
Okay, well, Debbie said a lot there. Did anything resonate with any of you on what you might think to do for yourself between now and the end of the year?
Yeah, I thought when she was saying that, get your business plan done before Thanksgiving or by Thanksgiving and then practice it for the rest of this year. I thought that was a great point because a lot of times, we kind of get started the first week of the year or the last week of the month of December, getting our business plan done. And then we kind of roll into January, a little slower than we would be if we were at full speed. I think if we start early, like, by Thanksgiving, November, December, that puts you in like a lot of momentum going into the new year, that you carry that momentum through the first quarter. And that just builds and builds and builds. So I think that was a great point that, I think that we all can take away from.
Thank you, Brian. You're right. We need to just start stretching our muscles so that by the time we get to January, we're like ready to run. Well, besides stretching, we need to practice running a little bit, but maybe the marathon starts in January. Now, what did you think about her talking about, how's the market? Scott, how's the market? How would you respond using Alan Dalton's little script?
How's the market? Well, there's a lot of opportunity in the market right now because the market is shifting. Are you interested in buying or selling? Because there's deals on both sides right now.
Thank you, Scott. I know I put you on the spot, but you're very good at winging stuff. But see, Scott was able to say that. Deborah, how's the market? Can you respond? Unmute yourself. I don't know if you're hearing me, but maybe when we have our lunch and learn on the 29th, which is next week, Brian and Maria, you want to talk about that briefly, but we can also do a little more role playing on doing that script about how's the market. So between now and then, let's practice how we're going to say it. I don't know if you're there, Brian. Can you, you want to talk about your lunch and learn?
Yeah, absolutely. So next week's lunch and learn is going to be really good. So we all have kind of turned into, social media as like the new wave of everything. So TikTok is one of those things that, a lot of people may have heard of, some people may not, but it's like one of the newest, hottest social media platforms right now that a lot of people are getting a lot of traction on when it comes to buying and selling, or just putting information out there that agents buyers and sellers are looking at. Pretty much anyone with a phone nowadays is looking at TikTok or some sort of platform similar to that. So I think this is going to be a great lunch and learn to kind of get your feet wet, jumping into selling homes using TikTok or reaching out to your audience using TikTok. So it's going to be really fun. It's going to be a lot of information. So I hope you guys are excited and eager to kind of jump into that.
Okay. And it's next week, Thursday at 1 p.m. If you could RSVP to Beverly, that would be helpful so we can tell Brian and Maria how much food that we need for the event. Now, I would also like to just practice that opportunistic script, because that's a good way to talk to people you meet, especially if we're going to start networking out there, and especially if they know you're a realtor. And then I also like the script about calling our sphere and past clients to just ask them if they have questions about the marketplace, especially how it's changing. So, it is about practice. Let's see what the market is. Simply amazing. Sellers continue to be well rewarded for their properties, and buyers have more choices. Very good, Scott. So we need to know how to speak about our marketplace. We don't want to be doom and gloom, but we want to be, let's have people take advantage. Tomorrow, she quoted about Alan Dalton. I just want to share this with you. He will be speaking live at our Zoom training. So I would hope that you guys could log in on this. It's 2 hours, but he is very informative. He uses a lot of psychology, and the whole thing about being a consultative type of person, I think works best for clients. So let me unshare this. So that's tomorrow, 9 a.m. till 11 a.m. Let me see, what else do I have on here? And then the Business Expo, we already discussed that. Beverly, you're getting a group of people, and then maybe we can set up a schedule for when people can show up. And then now is the time to put your marketing pieces together, and perhaps maybe something about what's going on in the marketplace so that you can hand it out during that expo. Then I see Betty Jo's face there, and it reminds me of calendars. This is the time too to start ordering those calendars, because they do work. Sometimes I go to my friend's house and I see my calendar on their refrigerator. It makes me happy, because then they know, hopefully they will call me, but guess what? They will most likely call me if I've had a conversation with them about the marketplace. Remember what she said? We need to have intentional conversations with the people we meet. And Deborah, I see your question in the chat. What's up with the notepads? Yes, I know. I don't know what to say, but yes, for those of you who have that moment, if you want to order it, just pick a notepad and then just order it, because we only need 5. I think we've got 2 people, so just 3 more people. I know I was supposed to be one of them, but I got a little distracted with George, so I haven't been able to go online and check that out. But yes, I will try to do that myself. And then, you know what, I wanted to share with you this quote from our agenda. Let's see if I can make it bigger. I guess I can't. Until one is committed, there is hesitancy. The moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. And I share this with you because with George having a stroke, that was not something planned in our minds, but I was, like I said to you before, it's like jumping into the pool of water. You either sink or swim. And so the same way with real estate, we gotta commit ourselves to doing the best that we can. With George, I don't know anything about Medicare, health insurance, caring for a stroke victim, but guess what? I am learning, but it's because I'm committed to him. So that's why I do it. So I was thinking, how do we take that kind of level of commitment we have for our loved ones and give it to ourselves, loving ourselves in doing the business that we have chosen to do? As Debbie said, it's a difficult business, but prospecting is one of them. And then the technical part is easy once you learn it. Because it is difficult, because when we don't know how to navigate all the different forms and all the different paragraphs and which boxes to check, it is hard. But once you get it, it'll stick in your mind, especially when it's a difficult transaction. So anything else anyone want to ask before we finish for the day?
Leilani, I did want to say something regarding the social media and the TikTok. I just want to let everybody know I'm friends with most of you on Facebook, but when you put your open houses on Facebook or you're showing them, I always try to share them just as a way to promote whatever it is you're doing. So if you don't belong to Facebook and you'd like for me to put it out, I would be more than happy to help out with that. And I just think it's a really important way to reach out to people and let them know, because I think we all go to Facebook nowadays to see what's going on, something comes up, and it's just a way of staying in front of people.
Thank you, Maria.
You're
And
welcome.
with the TikTok thing, sometimes I get caught into those videos, that you just see that show up. And then I thought, why did I watch that? It took, especially the one where the bride had a mask and I wanted to see what she looked like afterwards. It was like 40 minutes. And I think I'd stop before I got to the reveal. But why did I do that? I wasted 40 minutes of my time. But I believe TikTok, and we'll learn more about this next week, is it's shorter videos, like a minute to 2 minutes is the longest. And if you could make it interesting, that would be great. And I remember David, I forget his name, the one that came to our office a long time ago. And he was sharing about how somebody was showing a house and how they had new carpet. And then the guy rolled on the carpet and said, see, it smells so fresh. You know, like dumb things like that. People do watch it because especially if I watch someone trying to take off their face at the reveal. So I'm just saying that's an opportunity right there. Betty Jo, you unmuted yourself. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say that, I will check into, I was thinking about the calendars too, as we were in the meeting here. So, yeah, I was thinking it was time also. So I will, by the next meeting, I will definitely have some information on it. Okay, I'll contact Emily and we can get some prices, etc. Okay,
Okay.
that's when, can you hear me okay? Because someone,
Yes. Yes.
okay.
You're nice
Thank
and
you.
clear. Well, you know what, Betty Jo, thank you so much for being a team player. During this time, it really does take a team for all of us to get things done, because I'm not at the office, but I do try to make myself available to you by phone, email, or what have you. So, but I do thank all of you for carrying the ball during this time. I appreciate it. And I know George does too. So thank you one and all. And we'll talk to you next week, but tomorrow come to the advanced training with Alan Dalton, learn a little bit more to help make your skill set improved. And then I think that's it. And I wish I could be so fast with my music stuff, but I'll just say goodbye. And thank you very much, everyone. Sammy, if you could stay on the Zoom, let's talk Zoom wise. So thanks, everyone. Take care.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Beverly. Okay. So we'll, Evelyn, I know, Evelyn, you're still there, but good. Lawrence, I'm just trying to log you guys off. I have a meeting with Sammy. Okay, so Raymond is really not on. Let's see. Remove him. Okay, remove. Okay. Okay, Sammy, unmute yourself.